Good evening, builders. Welcome to my workshop. Today we're going to be making this lovely piggy bank. It's poorly suited for storing your coins, monies, and other financial instruments. The box go together thusly. You have a bottom and two end plates. First thing you want to do is put the dowel into the end plates, and you'll put these along the sides. For our next step, we're going to grab my Porter cable, framing nailer, load it up with some 2-inch nails.
Dad! Kids shouldn't use nail guns. They're very dangerous.
But I like my nail gun.
You know, kids shouldn't be using nail guns on their own. They're very dangerous.
They are pretty dangerous. Maybe we should use a hammer instead.
Yeah.
If you can find one of these, this is the kind of hammer that will work best. It's called a claw hammer because the back part here is called the claw, and it is used for pulling nails. Now there are other tools you can use to pull nails. For example, a crowbar like this one. But it's handy to have a tool that will both put nails in and pull them out. There's a similar hammer called a framing hammer, which as you can see is a little bit longer. It also has a straighter claw on the back. This can be a little bit of a problem when pulling nails in that you have to use a spacer in order to lift the nails out with this type of hammer. The other issue is there's a waffle pattern on the front of the hammer, and if you slip or when you finish a nail, it'll leave a waffle pattern in the wood. So if that's going to be a problem for you, you might want to find a hammer other than a framing hammer. There are other types of hammers, ones that will work for driving nails but do not have a claw. That's not a problem as long as you have a crowbar or something else with which to pull nails, or if you don't make any mistakes. This is a ball peen. This one's designed for metalworking, and this one's a geology hammer where this pointy end is good for breaking up rocks. So I guess when paleontologists need to pull nails, they don't have a claw, so they just use an Archaeopteryx bar or something. Mallets like these are not any good for driving nails. When I was a kid, we would sometimes take a mallet like this and try putting nails in the ends of it to give it a metal striking face so we could drive nails into our projects. All we did was ruin the mallet. Tack hammers or small novelty hammers are better suited for driving small nails in really small projects. They're going to leave you wishing you had something a little bit bigger as we work on projects with a little bit larger nails. I'm going to ask that you be sensible in the size and kind of hammer that you use in building this project. Sure, you could use a sledgehammer to drive that nail, but your poor little thumbs are going to be screaming in terror. Likewise with anything sharp like a hatchet, it's not a great thing to use as a hammer if you have any other choice, and being that Lowe's is still open, you do have a choice. You can improvise when you have to, but again, your fingers do not need this swinging around them. It's important that each nail as it goes in passes into the second board in the middle of its thickness. So when you put the board in, it needs to go in the middle of this other section. So that's easy to do here on this top nail, not so easy to do on the bottom nail, and even harder as you go across the nails on the bottom. To help us get the nails at the right thickness in the wood, we're going to mark the sides using the thickness of a board by just lightly marking with a pencil. And this will guide us where we need to put our nails. Once we have our lines made, we can start pre-nailing our nails. We're going to be trying to put these halfway in between the pencil line and the edge of the board. 2 on each end. And 4 along the bottom. We want to drive them about 2/3 to 3/4 of the way through the wood. Sometimes it helps if you choke up on the hammer just a little bit when you're getting your nails started. And you want to be careful that you are doing this on a surface that if you poke through the board, you're not going to get in trouble for messing up your mom's new granite countertop or an heirloom table. Perfect. Nicely done. That's okay. With one side plate pre-nailed, we're going to go ahead and start assembling the box. Now, remember to put your dowel in before you put your side plates on, because again, this does not have a hole that goes all the way through, and if you forget at this point, it's going to be too late. So, we're going to put one side plate on with nails while the other one's not nailed, and that'll become apparent in a minute. The easiest way to hold everything in place while you nail it is a wood clamp. These things are slick because they can hold everything together while you put your nails in. I know not all of you have those, so we're going to do things a little bit differently. We're going to use a roll of masking tape, and we're just going to put some tape to hold the pieces in place so that they don't move around while we nail them together. A little on the sides. You want to make them nice and tight. And roll it over onto its side. And I'm going to put a couple pieces on the bottom just to hold the bottom plate where it needs to be as well. Okay, once I've got everything where I need it, I can start driving in all of my nails. So I'm actually going to put one on each side first. And then I'm going to go ahead and put my nails into the bottom plate. Alright, once I have those all in place where I want, I'm going to make sure that my other side is nice and straight. You can see right here these have wanted to move out, so I'm going to need to put a piece of tape down here on the bottom. Just kind of hold everything down there in place. Otherwise, when I go to do the other side, it's not going to be lined up. All right. All right. So this side over here, despite our best efforts, didn't quite line up straight. Neither did this side over here. So I'm going to put a little masking tape on this side to pull the end in. And that should hold that. Tape's not going to hold this one in place. So we're going to have to hold that in place while we put them in. But we can at least pull the end plate in tight with some masking tape. I have this one already nailed up. So I'm just going to push this up a little bit while I do the nailing. Kind of push down and hold it in place. This one over here. I'm going to kind of hold it in place and straighten it up as best I can. It doesn't have to be perfect, but we'd sure like it to be close. Alright, and then finish driving the nails. Now one trick about using a hammer is once you have the nail started, you can hold it a little bit further back and get more leverage. Holding it up close, it's harder to hit. And the further the nail goes in, the more leverage it takes to hit it. So it's really worth your while to pull back a little bit on the hammer like that. And we're ready. So if you want to, you can put a couple of nails right here in the ends. It's not a real necessary step, but if you're feeling like it, it helps you feel just a little bit better. Also, you notice the dowel rotates. If that's bothersome to you, you can put a nail in the end. Remember that there's only material that goes up to right here, so to put it in the middle, you need to go about 1/3 of the thickness. And now it won't rotate. Here's just a few hints to help you be more successful in your hammering. This is called a knot. You can see these little circle pieces here. These are where the limbs grew out of the tree. As you probably know, boards come from trees and trees are made of wood, so you end up with the pieces of the tree like this. Now, knots are really hard to hammer into and you really shouldn't try. It can be a little bit dangerous, the nails can go sideways, so whenever you can, avoid hammering around a knot. So I wouldn't even want to put a nail here. I would want to, come over to a spot like this right here. Now, some of you are going to find that your nails go kind of sideways. There's a couple of reasons for that. One of them might be because there's a knot in the wood. Another reason might be because it's not being hit straight on. So if you can catch it before it gets too deep, you can pull it out and start again. But if you start, it's going to follow the same path that the hole you just made. You just made a crooked hole, so the nail's going to want to follow that crooked hole. So if you start getting it sideways, you can pull it out and start just right next to it. Now, if you end up striking kind of sideways, one way you can sometimes do it is just to hit it the other way. Straighten it out and keep going. You can see that one's still veering off. That's no bueno. So, let's pull it out. Make sure your nail's straight when you pull it out. A lot of times they get bent and you'll need to get a new one or straighten the nail you've got. So you notice what I like to do is kind of choke up on the hammer when I start nailing, and then slide back a little bit once I start driving the nail for realsies.
Oh, so I think I'll hold it.
Make sure you hit it straight. One final hint I have for you. If you find that you don't have the confidence to really get the nails going because you're afraid of hitting your fingers, perhaps you have hit your fingers, if you take a pair of needle nose pliers and hold the nail with that, it might give you the confidence you need to drive the hammer into the nail confidently. If you want to go ahead and sand your project so Mr. Oinkers has some nice smooth skin, feel free to do so. You can do so with sandpaper, a sanding block, or of course you can use a power sander. A few of you are no doubt asking what good such a big insecure piggy bank is to you. I wouldn't blame you if you prefer to keep your money in a credit union, but we do have a few other things you can do with it. I have this one that holds all of my climbing holds. When I go out to my climbing wall, it's got the tools and things of that nature. I've got one I've set up with my impact wrench, and this one's handy when I go out to the car to work on it. I've got all these tools in a single box, kind of an ironic use for a bank, but that's okay. Some of my brothers who have built these in the past like to play board games, and they made caddies out of theirs for similar kinds of gaming applications. When I go out in the field with my chainsaw, I oftentimes need some equipment to support it, and that's what this one is for. I've got fuel and spare chains and bars and things of that nature. And these skills are useful for things besides just piggy banks and boxes. This is a box that I made for my wife. She's gotten into Korean natural farming, and this box is used to hold rice that grows mold and other yucky stuff. I think I'm going to go wash my hands. So if you're going to paint it with spray paint, you can do it with it all fully assembled. You want to shake up the spray paint really well, and then apply nice even coats. If you're going to be painting it any color other than something very dark like a black, it'll be worth your while to paint it white first. For one thing, white spray paint is cheaper than your other spray paints. For another thing, your colors will be more vibrant if you have a base coat that's white. This piece is going straight to black, so no need to paint it white first. The final color coat can be applied once the white base coat is dry. Going to loosen this clamp and put some eyes on it. I hope that building this has been a meaningful experience to you. Developing these kinds of skills can really help you throughout your life, and hopefully give you the confidence to do the things that you need to get done. May thy nails ever bond straight and true. May thy piggy banks ne'er run dry. And may we be generous with all the treasure that should fill them. That is my hope. Good luck.